Hi YouTube. To get straight into the topic, it is meat eating and what it means for our species. A common, uh, what do you call it? I don't even know what to call it. We'll just call it talking point. A common talking point I hear from anti-vegans is that veganism is completely unnatural, and one of the things they like to point to is if the world, you know, when what do you call it? Walmart FEMA camp apocalypse exploded tomorrow. Vegans wouldn't be able to operate in the world. They'd have to start eating meat and da 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 da. And so here's the thing about that. Uh, I don't want to delve massively deep into spiral dynamics here, but I just will say there's this thing called spiral dynamics, and that it has to do with stages of civilization, and that's really what we're looking at here. To just a brief overview of the beginnings of spiral dynamics. There's red, which is essentially what we started at. It's like some big dude who's maybe got charisma and a little bit of social ability. He is the leader, and he's the leader because he'll kill you if you don't respect him as the leader. So it starts there. Then there's a revolution, which is blue, and that's basically everyone is saying, um, no, we shouldn't just respect one guy because he's the strongest. We should work together, and there should be law and order that everyone must be under, and there's right and wrong, and that's important. Everyone should play their role, and there's duty and justice, and so on, and then it goes on from there. But the reason I'm mentioning that is just to illustrate that there's stages, and that while we still have that red in the spiral dynamics, the red alpha brute who would otherwise be dominating society were it not for blue, um, he's still wandering around. He is the mountain from Game of Thrones. Um, the he's bodybuilders in general. The tall guy who just built a bunch of muscle. That guy still exists, but his role as a leader is, as you would say, vestigial. Vestigial, meaning we no longer need that. Not to say, oh, we should just get rid of the mountain. He's just he's an unnecessary person for community. It's like, no, he's fine. He has a role as a regular person. He happens to have some advantages, I would say. He's still got advantages even in a post-red world, and that's great, no problem. But to say that he's necessary for rule of law anymore is it's vestigial. And the reason I'm mentioning this is to paint a picture of stages of progression, stages of civilization. Are the meat eaters right? Let's say that tomorrow we woke up and everything's burning, and they killed all the politicians. The police stations have been raided, and half the police force was murdered by maniacal lunatics, and the military had to be brought in, and they're getting killed by random psychos and weirdos on the street and stuff. Yeah, you can say at that point it's likely vegans are gonna go to the waterways like everyone else and start fishing to get omegas. Like, but that's not reality. That's a fantasy. That's shit hits the fan prepper, or the reason that preppers exist. And I'm not saying this to completely discount that possibility. I'm just saying that it hasn't happened, and it probably won't happen, and it ideally won't happen. It's and in any case, that possibility at all times does not render our current stage uh, useless. And so what am I talking about? Stages. So yeah, there was a stage where we absolutely had to eat meat, maybe, to get all of our nutrients. Actually, that's not even true. It's true today. If things were to break, and we're trying to get vitamin B12 and these other things, it would be pretty hard to just live fully vegan if we didn't have a supply chain. So um, but that, just because there's that possibility doesn't mean that um, you can just throw it all. Oh, it's unnatural. No, it means we're at an advanced stage, and it's exactly the same. Um, it's basically like making this argument that now that we have institutions of justice and law and order, and it's supposed to apply to everyone and everything. Um, it it's the same as saying, no, we should be listening to the mountain. You and your laws and your order and justice and right and wrong, it's all bullshit. We should just be listening to the mountain. He's the only one who's got it right. It's like, that dude's probably got an IQ of sub 100. No, no, I mean, I'm not saying he's definitely an idiot, but he's probably kind of, he's not the smartest man to consult about the direction of our species. We'd be better off looking to um, modern scientists or something, to probably scientists more than anything. Unfortunately, we still look to politicians, which I think is a vestige waiting to happen. But that's the thing about this eating meat, and this natural argument of it's natural, and if supply chains were cut off, vegans couldn't exist. You're basically saying we're advanced and that's bad, and I'm saying you're stupid because you, you're not deciding to move forward. You're actually trying to hold. Uh, you're actually trying to hold humanity back. You're actually saying, no, we should stagnate in this uh, suboptimal area, and that's why it's a stupid argument. And I'm probably going to bring this up again over and over again just to drive that point home, because it's something that's repeatedly brought up. They're like, oh, shit hits the fan, vegans can't exist. Yeah, shit hits the fan, a lot of things go by the wayside, and then we have to go back to uh, more primitive ways of living, and so it's just a stupid argument. Natural isn't always best. That's a fallacy, and yeah. So I hope that I can make popularize that point, so that, because I keep seeing this over and over again, and I just find it to be a ridiculous argument for those reasons. Um, you can't. I mean, I would say appealing to vestige, that it's a fallacy. It's a fallacy in and of itself. Appealing to vestige. It's like, I mean, what's a good thing for good analogy here? Uh, Hair, I guess. Maybe hair. It's like, actually, strength. Let's look at chimpanzees. So chimpanzees, they say, are about 10 times the strength of uh, of a human. So that's a vestige for us. This massive strength is vestigial because we actually don't need that physical strength in order to uh, actually dominate the planet in a matter of speaking. I mean, if you compare our species to everything else, why aren't we as strong as gorillas? If we're a dominant species, then why don't we have that strength? Because we don't need it. And that's my point, is that you're appealing to a vestige. You're basically pointing to the gorilla and saying we should be genetically modifying humans to get stronger, because what if civilization falls apart and we have to fight gorillas? It's stupid. It's a really dumb argument. You're appealing to something that doesn't matter. It doesn't apply to reality. It's just nonsense. So that's a dumb argument, and I can't wait for when it stops being argued, just like every other bullshit argument on the internet coming from people who aren't well thought enough to come to that conclusion themselves, just like every argument that used to be argued by funny internet YouTube Christians who no longer post videos because they got blown the fuck out in debate repeatedly and all their videos got torn to shreds. And every single atheist eventually learned the argument front to back, how to debunk it 4 ways to next Sunday. So that's what's going to happen with this argument. It's what's going to happen with every argument meat eaters are going to make. This is the inevitable process that has happened repeatedly and will continue to happen, where bad arguments are brought up over and over again, logically fallacious bullshit. They will get beaten to death, and ultimately the numbers of veganism will rise, just like the numbers of atheism rose, just like the numbers of people who recognize Islam for what it is, etc., etc., ad infinitum, all stupid issues that have ever been risen on the internet or in the real world to a lesser extent.